Think of a place where people go to create unforgettable memories, seek adventure, and get closer to nature. But that same place turns into pure horror in a matter of seconds. Across zoos, safaris, wildlife parks, and private animal enclosures, a single decision has often changed everything. Sometimes it was the desire for a perfect photo, sometimes a rule ignored, and sometimes simple overconfidence. What links these terrifying stories isn't just the animals involved, but a human mistake that destroys everything. Because in the wild, there are no second chances, only a thin line between every decision, life and death. The Berlin Zoo Polar Bear Breach, 2009. On April 10, 2009, during the busy Easter Friday at the Berlin Zoo, a 32-year-old woman climbed over a spiked fence, bypassed a line of sight barriers, and jumped into the enclosure of 4 mature polar bears, Ursus maritimus. While not a pet in the domestic sense, this case is the ultimate study in invaded territory aggression. Polar bears are the only land mammals that actively view humans as a primary food source. They do not have a biological off switch for hunting. As soon as the woman hit the water, the bears, weighing up to 1,500 pounds each, swarmed. The scientific data on polar bear physiology explains the horror. Their paws are 12 inches wide, acting like massive paddles tipped with 2-inch non-retractable claws. One bear, sensing a distressed organism in its aquatic territory, dove in and sank its teeth into the woman's arms and back. Polar bears possess a bite force of 1,235 psi, specifically designed to crush the skulls of bearded seals. The attack was captured on horrifying amateur video. As keepers tried to distract the bears with meat and life rings, the woman was bitten more than 6 times. One bear lunged and bit her directly on the gluteal and posterior thigh regions, attempting to drag her deeper into the enclosure. The biological data from the incident shows she suffered massive soft tissue loss and deep puncture wounds that narrowly missed her femoral artery. She survived only after 6 zookeepers managed to push a bear away with long poles. The Helen Rodriguez lion attack, 2017. On August 15, 2017, in the Limpopo province of South Africa, Helen Rodriguez, who lived on a wildlife property, suffered a catastrophic attack by a lion she had reportedly known and interacted with. While the lion was kept in a fenced area, the relationship was described as one of familiarity. However, Panthera leo is an apex social predator that relies on opportunistic aggression. According to research by the Lion Research Center, lions are neurologically stimulated by vulnerable movement, such as a human crouching or turning away, which mimics the behavior of wounded prey. The attack was swift and mechanical. As Rodriguez was near the enclosure, the lion managed to grab her through the fence or during a moment of proximity, sinking its 3-inch canines into her neck and shoulders. A lion's bite is not just a puncture. It involves a clamp and suffocate instinct. Their jaws exert roughly 650 to 1,000 psi. But the real danger lies in the carnassial teeth, which act like biological shears, designed to rip muscle from bone. The data from the medical intervention was harrowing. Rodriguez suffered severe lacerations to the jugular area and deep tissue gouges across her torso. Scientific studies on captive lion attacks show that familiarity actually increases risk because the owner loses their threat status in the animal's eyes, becoming a subordinate pride member or a prey item. Rodriguez survived the mauling after emergency surgery, but the incident reinforces the predatory trigger theory. For a lion, there is no such thing as a friend, only those who are currently dominant and those who are currently vulnerable. The Betrayal of Humphrey the Hippo, 2011. Marius Els, a 40-year-old South African army major, spent years attempting to prove that a 2,600-pound hippopotamus named Humphrey was human-like. Els famously swam with the beast, fed it apples, and even rode on its back, telling reporters, "Humphrey's like a son to me. He's just like a human." However, Hippopotamus amphibius is statistically the deadliest large land mammal on Earth, responsible for an estimated 500 deaths per year in Africa. Research by ethologist Hans Klingel indicates that bull hippos do not form bonds with non-hippos. They merely tolerate them until a territorial or hormonal threshold is crossed. On the evening of November 12, 2011, near the Vaal River in Free State Province, the illusion of the pet shattered. Humphrey transitioned into a state of unpredictable territorial aggression. The hippo used its 20-inch-long lower canines, which can exert a bite force of 1,800 to 2,000 psi, pounds per square inch, to gouge Els. For context, a human bite is only 160 psi. Els was bitten repeatedly, his torso shredded by the hippo's tusks, and he was dragged into the river. Medical responders found Els's body submerged in the water where he had been mauled to death and left. The sheer mechanical power of the attack meant death was caused by multiple blunt force traumas and catastrophic exsanguination, bleeding out. This case is cited by wildlife biologists as a primary example of anthropomorphism, the dangerous human tendency to attribute human emotions to animals that are biologically incapable of feeling them. The Travis the Chimp Massacre, 2009. On February 16, 2009, at approximately 3:40 p.m. in Stamford, Connecticut, a 200-pound chimpanzee named Travis attacked Charla Nash, a friend of his owner, Sandra Harold. Travis was a local celebrity who had appeared in Old Navy and Coca-Cola commercials, could use a computer, and reportedly ate at the dinner table. However, biological research led by Dr. Matthew C. O'Neill suggests that chimpanzees possess 1.35 to 1.5 times the mass-specific muscular performance of humans due to a higher density of fast-twitch fibers, making them capable of explosive, bone-shattering violence. When Nash arrived to help Harold lure Travis back into the house, the chimp snapped. During the terrifying 12-minute 911 call, Harold can be heard screaming, "He's eating her! He ripped her face off!" Travis did not just bite. He utilized a specific primate attack strategy known as targeted mutilation. He systematically tore off Nash's hands, nose, lips, and eyelids. The scientific data regarding the attack is staggering. Travis inflicted total degloving of the face and bilateral ocular enucleation, removal of both eyes. Despite being 14 years old and having lived with humans his entire life, Travis's predatory drift was triggered, likely exacerbated by the 10-milligram dose of Xanax he had been fed earlier that day, which can cause paradoxical aggression in primates. Nash survived the attack but required a groundbreaking full-face transplant and double-hand transplant. The 700-pound Harlem tiger Ming, 2003. In October 2003, the NYPD discovered that Antoine Yates was sharing a 5-bedroom public housing apartment in Harlem with a 700-pound Bengal Siberian tiger named Ming. Yates had raised Ming from an 8-week-old cub, believing they shared a spiritual bond. However, according to the Global Tiger Forum, a tiger's brain is hardwired for solitary territoriality, requiring up to 20 square miles of range, not the confines of a 21st-floor apartment. The attack occurred when Yates tried to intervene during a spat between Ming and a house kitten. This sudden movement triggered Ming's prey drive. A tiger's strike is a masterpiece of evolution. They possess retractable claws that act as grappling hooks and a bite force of approximately 1,050 psi. When Ming lunged, he didn't play bite, he performed a predatory takedown. The tiger's 3-inch canines sank into Yates's leg, tearing through muscle and reaching the bone, causing major arterial distress. Yates managed to escape to the hallway, but the scientific data from the scene was chilling. Police had to rappel down the side of the building to fire tranquilizer darts through the window. Analysis of the apartment showed Ming had been living in a state of displacement aggression, a psychological condition where an animal's stress from confinement is redirected into sudden explosive violence. Yates survived with permanent scarring and a broken leg, but the case remains a landmark study in the illusion of control. It proved that no amount of hand feeding can override the 20 million years of feline evolution that classifies a falling or wounded human as prey. The Python Crib Tragedy, 2009. In July 2009, in Oxford, Florida, an 8.5-foot and 12-foot long according to court records, Burmese python named Gypsy escaped its aquarium. The snake was owned by Jaron Hare and Charles Darnell. Despite being kept as a docile pet, the python had been underfed, weighing only 18 pounds, significantly underweight for its length. At approximately 10 o'clock a.m., Darnell discovered the snake coiled tightly around Hare's 2-year-old daughter, Cheyenne, in her crib. The science of a python attack is purely mechanical and thermal. According to research published in the Journal of Experimental Biology, constrictors do not kill by suffocation. Instead, they induce circulatory arrest. By applying massive pressure up to 25 psi, the snake spikes the prey's internal pressure until the heart can no longer pump blood to the brain. Gypsy utilized its labial pits, highly sensitive infrared sensors, to lock onto the toddler's body heat in the dark room. The python had bitten the child on the head and neck to gain a lethal anchor before wrapping its muscular coils around her torso. Darnell had to use a kitchen knife to stab the snake until it released its hold, but the damage was done. The medical examiner's report confirmed the cause of death as asphyxiation and blunt force trauma. This case led to the 2010 federal ban on the interstate transport of Burmese pythons, citing that reptilian instinct cannot distinguish between a family member and a biological food source. The pack consumption of Bethany Stevens, 2017. In December 2017, the Goochland County Sheriff's Office in Virginia responded to a call regarding 22-year-old Bethany Stevens, who had vanished while walking her 2 pit bulls, Tonka and Pac-Man. These were not neglected animals. Stevens had raised them from puppies and frequently posted photos of them sleeping in her bed. However, the scene discovered by Sheriff James Agnew was described as absolutely grisly. The medical examiner's report provided chilling data. Stevens suffered defensive wounds on her hands and arms, suggesting she was alive and fighting when the attack began. The dogs had transitioned from a social state to a feeding frenzy. According to Dr. Amy Learn, a veterinary behaviorist, when 2 or more dogs engage in an attack, they enter a synchronous predatory state, where the vocalizations and movement of the victim further stimulate the animal's kill drive. The most horrifying scientific detail was the post-mortem predation. Investigators witnessed the dogs guarding and consuming parts of Stevens's ribcage and torso. Forensic evidence confirmed the cause of death was catastrophic exsanguination from bites to the throat and face. This case is frequently cited in canine behavioral studies to illustrate that the domestic bond is not a guarantee of safety. Under specific environmental stressors, such as a change in the animal's routine or a sudden trigger during a walk, the brain's amygdala can override years of training, reverting the animal to a wild, scavenging carnivore. The black mamba's live-streamed death, 2017. On September 23, 2017, Arslan Valiyev, a prominent Russian YouTuber and former zoo employee, committed a suicide by pet that shocked the world. Valiyev was an expert in herpetology, yet he deliberately allowed his pet black mamba, Dendroaspis polylepis, to bite his hand during a live broadcast. The black mamba is widely considered the world's most dangerous snake due to its dendrotoxins, a cocktail of fast-acting neurotoxins that attack the nervous system. The scientific progression of the attack was captured in real time. Within minutes of the bite, Valiyev's speech became slurred, a clinical sign of bulbar palsy. Black mamba venom has an LD50, lethal dose for 50% of subjects, of just 0.28 milligrams per kilogram. A single bite can deliver up to 400 milligrams of venom, enough to kill 20 grown men. The toxins work by blocking the nicotinic acetylcholine receptors at the neuromuscular junction. This prevents the brain from sending signals to the muscles, including the diaphragm. As over 3,000 viewers watched, Valiyev's eyes began to roll back, a symptom of ptosis, drooping eyelids. He walked away from the camera to the bathroom, gasping for air as his lungs began to paralyze. Data from the World Health Organization confirms that without antivenom, the mortality rate is nearly 100%. By the time paramedics arrived, Valiyev was in a deep coma and was pronounced dead shortly after. This case serves as a terrifying data point on the zero-error reality of keeping venomous pets. A single, calculated bite results in a total systemic collapse within 20 to 60 minutes. The Obetz camel double homicide, 2022. On March 10, 2022, at Shirley's Pumpkin Barn in Obetz, Ohio, a dromedary camel named Cyrus escaped its enclosure and launched a lethal assault on its handlers. The victims, 42-year-old Thomas Walters and 51-year-old Joseph Maez, were experienced with the animal. However, the attack occurred during the spring mating season. During this time, male camels enter a state of rut, where they secrete a pungent pole gland fluid and become hyper-aggressive, viewing any other male organism as a rival to be eliminated. The mechanics of the attack were described by Franklin County Sheriff's deputies as predatory and relentless. According to the Journal of Arid Environments, a camel's primary combat move involves neck wrestling, using their massive necks to pin a victim to the ground before utilizing their sternal pad to crush them. Witnesses and body cam footage revealed that Cyrus did not just bite. He trampled both men and used his body weight to knead them into the earth. When deputies arrived at the scene, the camel was still in a heightened state of arousal and aggression and charged the officers' vehicles. Despite attempts to neutralize the animal, Cyrus continued to attack the fallen men, forcing deputies to shoot the animal. The medical data confirmed that both men died from multiple blunt force traumas and internal organ rupture caused by the camel's crushing weight. The Zanesville Private Zoo Massacre, 2011. On October 18, 2011, at approximately 5:00 p.m. in Zanesville, Ohio, Terry Thompson, the owner of Muskingum County Animal Farm, committed suicide after opening the cages of his 56 exotic pets. The unleashed menagerie included 18 rare Bengal tigers, 17 lions, 8 bears, 3 mountain lions, and 2 wolves. This event, known as the Zanesville Massacre, forced the local sheriff's office into a tactical shoot-to-kill scenario to prevent a massacre of the town's human population. The science behind the horror involves captivity-induced stress and aggression displacement. According to research by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, AZA, apex predators in private, non-standard enclosures often experience zoochosis, making their behavior highly volatile once the dominance figure, the owner, is gone. As the sun set, the tigers and lions began to track prey across the local landscape. Police reported tigers charging at officers with a speed of 40 miles per hour, a biological feat humans cannot outrun. The data from the aftermath was staggering. 48 animals were killed in a single night. One tiger was shot just feet from a local highway, and a bear was killed as it moved toward a neighboring home. Veterinary pathologists noted that these pets had instantly reverted to opportunistic hunting, ignoring their domestic training the moment they were freed. The animal kingdom's wild side never truly fades. Stay informed to stay safe. Subscribe now and hit the bell to uncover more bone-chilling true stories from the edge of nature.